Hello, I'm Joshua of Milestone Play. I'm a professional game master, and today we're going to be taking a look at a prop I built for a multi-table event for Star Wars Day 2025. This event was held at Bear Totem Table and Tankard in Spokane, Washington, where I recently relocated to, and actually this event was the first game I ran there. A local game master that goes by Cearul has also been working on his own science fantasy RPG called Stellar Fantasies. Stellar Fantasies is inspired by fiction such as Star Wars and Star Trek and everything of that like. We would be using Stellar Fantasies for this multi-table event. Chiara would also be running the main table and overseeing the overarching plotline of what this event was about. Other game masters such as myself would then run sub-missions that would help with the overall narrative, and by the end of the game we would be ferrying all of our tables slowly to the main table for the climax. For this video, we're going to be going through the creation process for the prop I made before we take some time to look at the other event space and table setups for this multi-table event, and then we'll get some snippets of the finale. The prop we're making is a blueprint of a small section of an Imperial Star Destroyer known as the Cornucopia. The Cornucopia is a cargo vessel that has plenty of resources on it that our player characters need. They will be able to harvest supplies to send to other tables and missions, as well as supplies that are needed by the refugees that they're attempting to protect. In other prop making videos, I have espoused the idea of, I want you to make these props. I don't care if you're not a good artist or if you think you're not crafty. These props don't need to be perfect, they just need to be made. Your players will enjoy having them at the table, interacting with them, and they will appreciate the fact that you took the time to make something special for that game. Well, this video is me on the struggle bus going downhill into a dumpster fire, as this prop was nothing but complications. But I have to take my own advice. I have to make the props even if I think that they're bad, and the players, they did enjoy them. So come along for this ride, however bumpy it might be. To start things off, I needed a blue base for my blueprints. While I did a cursory look for something more prop-like, I was working on a tight time frame and settled for a poster board 3-pack. I then doodled out some ideas for my ship design before jumping into Incarnate to mock up a black and white version that sticks to a grid. I then flipped this map across the y-axis. This will be important later. I wasted a small chunk of ink printing out the small version to get a sense of size and proportion compared to my poster board before wasting a ton of ink printing out a tiled version. By the end of this project, I will be using up the majority of an ink cartridge. I did say at the beginning of this that this project was full of mistakes. After getting the tiled print assembled into a single map, I traced the room outlines with a thick layer of graphite. The idea is to then flip this map face down and press it onto the blue cardstock poster board. The built-up graphite outline will then leave a printed mark on the poster board that I can trace over more definitively. This will keep me from having to hand draw it with a straight edge and right angle. This is just a technique that I remember learning in elementary or middle school art class, and I actually used to make my Milestone Play logo block print in the past. That block print was used to make the dice bags, juggling ball bags, and actually printed on the lid of my GM travel trunk case thing. You'll see it later in the video. When you do this flip, you're flipping the image across the X or Y axis, depending on how you turn the paper over. Our map would be backwards had I not flipped the image over the y-axis earlier. This flip is undoing that flip. Now all we have to do is peel this map away to reveal our well fooey. Turns out the finish texture on the poster board doesn't pick up minor mars and smudges all that well. Stupid poster board company making their poster boards resistant to mistakes. This is why doing a trial run is good practice. After being hit by that frustration and knowing I was on a bit of a time crunch, I tried to salvage my whole transfer the image over plan by making a not so wise choice. If the graphite wouldn't transfer over, maybe I could get some of that wasted ink to transfer over? The new plan was to dab the page with a wet towel to get the dense ink to bleed out onto the poster board. While not great, this reveal would show areas of hallways visible. I began to do an initial sketch of the map in pencil, making more assumptions on the map design than I should have before looking back at the printed miniature copy to see that I was missing doorways, extending halls, and blocking out rooms starting at the wrong side of the wall. As I continued, the accumulating mistakes combined with crinkles caused by the water to not look so good. When I first thought to use water, I rationalized any water damage to be in-world distress on the prop. However, there is a difference between a prop having character and it just looking bad. That, and this would be the only map used during the game, so I kinda need it to lie flat on the table. We are well into the sunk cost fallacy, and I just need to start over. Another trough of ink later, and we have a new base map to work off of. This time, I would cut out the map with the blade and trace it onto the poster board by hand. The problem with this technique is that the map is not designed to work like a stencil. For the first floor of the ship, I cut out the rooms and hallways. Unfortunately, any interior walls for things like conference rooms between hallways would be lost, like when you try to cut out letters without using one of those military fonts with the extra lines. You know, the ones designed as stencils. The second floor, I attempted to cut the negative space away from the hallways to reduce that problem. This left my tracing structure fragile, but probably how I should have done both of them. As my weariness grew, I decided to do the initial tracing with a thin white paint pen I got for the project instead of starting with a pencil. This is already messier than I wanted, and a prime example of why a rushed job without a plan isn't a good idea, especially for someone who promotes the virtues of bad art. Once I had the thin outlines of each floor, I bolded them with the larger paint marker before beginning to fill in all the negative space. Using the thin marker to do a hash mark fill, a dot fill, or just using a paintbrush for an even block would have been better than what I did. However, my eyes are now on finishing the project rather than perfecting the project. Done is better than perfect. I then went through to add in double doors and blast doors before labeling all the rooms to help players make quick, informed decisions. I then labeled the floors to make it easier for memory and discussion, especially because I decided to put level 1 on top of level 2. Look, my mind processed them as primary floor and secondary floor, but that's just not how visual layout usually works. We're pushing forward. The last thing I added was the name of the ship and mission information. The multi-table game would have a lot going on, and having clear, distinct goals for people to look at and know what was completed would help with table hygiene. With the map done, I spent some time writing up some simple items to be found along the adventure. This mission is about gathering resources after all. I've only played this game once before, so they're pretty generic options based off of what I could find in the rules PDF that Cearul had given me, or things that I had spoken with Cearul with beforehand, or was ready to scrap if they weren't cool. Finally, I cannibalized the first attempt at the prop to make the cards easier to handle. Gathering together all of my supplies, some self-promotions, some miniatures for reference, and my old Gen Con notebook for note-taking, I assembled my case for transport. A last-second label on the back of the blueprint for posterity, and I was ready to go. After the label dried, of course. When I got to Bear Totem, they were already setting up the layout of the star battle across multiple tables, with each GM deciding where their missions would be taking place across it. Seth, the store owner, would be running any space flights and dogfights PCs needed to do to get between adventure locations. The head GM, Cearul, would be running the forward strike force directly leading into the climax, while the rest of us would be running support missions and guiding our players to the head table for the final fight against a surprise antagonist. My table would be stealing supplies from the Empire to close the resource gap between the refugee resistance and the Imperial forces. They would be able to send supplies to other missions if they worked fast enough. The neighboring GM was running a droid-focused plot on a jungle moon debris crash site. Just huge battle space arena, and it looks fantastic. This is the sort of stuff that Bear Totem provides for people that want to run games there. As we got towards the end of my table's specific missions, they ended up with the choice to send some of their supplies to help with the jungle battle or take all of the supplies with them to the final fight. They elected to keep everything for the primary objective, abandoning the other mission to its fate for the sake of focus. Did this work out well for them? Well, immediately yes, long term, no. The final battle consisted of trying to hold off Darth Vader in a prototype suit in his early days as the boogeyman of the Empire rather than a war general, as the other players tried to destroy the machine at the center of the plotline, the gravity well generator. This is what created those debris moon jungle environments for the droid battles earlier.
At this point, debris has been made, and there is a ring of debris that's beginning to form around it.
Yeah, we're both ready.
I think we're just both gonna run for it.
He's got mechanic coveralls wrapped around his waist, antennas flickering around.
Nice.
And yeah, we both immediately book it straight to the pillar.
You set the explosive. Done. turn around as the Jawa is just like putting down their bag at this point.
How long is it going to take the bombs to go off?
You have a remote detonator, I believe. Does he have a remote
They did not get
They did not get
They
the
failed
remote
to get that.
You are the detonator now.
Lucky 13?
Oh, 13. Cool. As Darth Vader, as he lops off your head in a single strike, you're dead. As then he does in fact jump directly to in front of you.
Yep.
Hey. As this stance appears to be his force augmentation stance. As he right to you, takes the charge action, meaning if he moves in a straight line, he can attack at the end of his movement in the same action. He takes a strike at you. Make that reflex defense roll. You do still have the extra d6 because of him being electrified. Are you kidding me?
Naturally.
You want to know something neat? He
I'm gonna keep those dice for life.
got a nat 1. As you, for no reason, are holding off Darth Vader. Darth Vader jumps down at you, slices, as the, he cuts through the platform you're standing on, as it buckles, as he, like, falls a moment. And you get an attack of, an attack of opportunity, and something beneficial will happen.
Vader had the high ground this time.
Yeah, Vader had the high ground. Oh my god. Okay, go ahead and go ahead, roll damage. 2 beneficial things happen.
Okay.
28 damage. Yeah.
20 plus 2 more.
Both ghosts hopped in on this. 30 damage as you cut through the 1 HP left on his arm that you hit before. And you cut through that and twist as the other, like, his lightsaber begins to fall. He reaches out to grab it with the force. The lightsaber connects with his hand as it cuts through. And the hole that he made in the bridge as it broke down, his 2 hands holding his lightsaber as it falls into the abyss below. Nice! Yes! Disarmed Darth Vader!
And yet another crit in a row off screen led to a slew of dice rolling as Darth Vader was crit 4 or 5 times in succession based off of his initial fumble, allowing the opportunity attack and the successive crits, allowing for more actions. Everyone was freaking out, and I missed most of it on camera, and I'm very upset about that.
His arms cut off, his mask cracked open as he is enraged. As he's walking forward, you as the last one explodes as this falls. It falls this way and crashes. Crashing through this barrier and plummeting down below. As it does so, its protective shell crashes off, and all of that gravity well energy is pulled. Everything is being shaken. Darth Vader, weakened as he is, gets ripped by the gravity well and begins to follow. All of you are getting pulled towards it as well. I need all of you to make saving throws.
Most of the surviving heroes did escape the gravity well implosion, though a couple of them did not. Cearul had an epilogue contingent on whether all of the other missions and tables had all of their objectives completed, or they didn't. I did not know that this was coming when my players had decided that they wouldn't hit that final objective. Instead of sending supplies down to the ground forces, they would take everything back with them to this final fight. Turns out that while the ground forces were able to hold off the Imperial forces long enough for the gravity well generator to be destroyed, they immediately had to break ranks after that. And in the breaking ranks, Darth Sidious snuck on through and managed to find Darth Vader's mangled prototype body. Darth Vader would be rebuilt, and the fate of the galaxy could not be changed. And that's kind of it for this video. So thank you for watching, and thank you to our patrons on Patreon for their support. Patrons get access to our own in-development RPGs such as Heroic Potential and Pulp Action. I am a professional game master, so if you're looking for a game for yourself or your friends, head on down to the description where we have links to our website and our Discord. I will be at Gen Con this year, so maybe if you're going to be there, I'll see you there. Otherwise, I might see you around the Pacific Northwest playing games in person here. If nothing else, you'll see me online, both here on YouTube, and if you want a game, jump over to the Discord. But for now, thanks for watching, and have a lovely